Decorate your block with red tape, phone them sliding every day. Bunch of hollows spitting out the Glock. I've been serving fiends all day, out there posted with the gang, nigga. We was taught to get it off the block. It's 100 bands in the safe, now I got expensive taste. Michael Mary jeans.
Wanganeen will kick another, and the power. You know who again? What a champion he is.
Whipping out of Chalmers, he'll get run down, gets the kick away. It's a huge kick that could bounce through.
And they are there. And the breeze is going left to right. This is one of the toughest kicks ever. And he's a long way out. He hits it. And he's kicked it, I think. Hodges kicks it
To win the game after the siren. Peter Bogang, he's done it.
Cassisi to win it. Cassisi does win it.
Instead of Byron makes his mark.
The 1990 McGarry medalist, he lets fly, and he is the record holder for South Australian football.
Port Adelaide, the premiers. 1994 premiers, Port Adelaide.
There it is! It's all over! Port Adelaide! They had the power to win!
So, Mr. Langans, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
My whole family goes to Port. So my mum followed Port Adelaide in the SANFL before I was born, and so it was only natural that I started following them too.
Okay. Next question is, who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
I really like Zach Butters currently. I think he's come a long way. He's having a really good season, and he's largely responsible for the good year Port's having.
Yeah. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
I do have a soft spot for Wanganeen. Robert Mann, he was pretty good. Byron Pickett, some of the bumps he used to lay was fantastic.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey, the one I'm wearing?
I do like it. I think Collingwood were part of the AFL before Port Adelaide, so they shouldn't be able to wear it when they're playing against Collingwood. But I think that if they're at home playing someone else, I don't see why they can't wear it.
Okay. The final question, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Oh, it's got to be the 2004 AFL Grand Final. I was sitting there, it was probably about 5 minutes ago when we realised that Port had won the flag, and so the celebration was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
So, Jacko, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Back for Adelaide, my dad back for him his whole life, so I was brought up just around Port Adelaide, went to heaps of games, so yeah, can't change my team.
Nice. The next question is, who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Favourite player at the moment, probably Connor Rosie. He's a good young star, future of Port Adelaide.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Gavin Wanganeen, probably one of them. Very inspirational player. Yeah, good Indigenous cultured player. Good history behind him. So yeah, Gavin Wanganeen.
Nice. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
A lot of history behind the prison bar jersey. I think Port should be able to wear them every game. More history than Collingwood, so yeah, I think Port Adelaide should have the rights to wear the prison bar jersey.
That's right, Jackson. What's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Best game I've attended, probably 2014 elimination final against the Tigs. Scored about 50 odd points in the first quarter. All over him all day, and it's a great atmosphere and experience at the LA Oval.
Thanks, Jackson.
Okay.
Jamie, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Well, since I was born, my family barracked for Port, so just followed along with it. And once I was old enough to know what AFL was, I realised that Port won on my birth year of 2004 onwards.
Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Favourite player? Probably Charlie Dixon. Just a good lad, I reckon.
Good hands.
Good hands, you know. Big unit.
Yeah. Okay, who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Gavin Wagoney. Guess straight up.
Explanation.
Just a good player, you know.
Okay.
Idled him for a bit.
Oh, nice. Cool. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
Good jersey. Like,
You think
just,
Port Adelaide should wear it more? Or?
yeah, I reckon they could go back to their, like, because it's a traditional jersey, you know, like, they could go back to their older times.
Yeah. Cool. And what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Probably the best was my first ever Port Adelaide game against the West Coast at ARE Stadium, and I was just pretty young a few years back, and they didn't actually play properly for the first like 3 quarters. So the last quarter they just absolutely flogged the West Coast,
We won
beat
that.
them by 50, something like that.
Nice. Thanks,
Right.
Jamie.
Well,
That's good, Harry, wasn't it?
No.
And is you like, why do you back for Port Adelaide?
I barracked for Port Adelaide because I used to live in Port Lincoln for quite some time, and obviously it's a Port Adelaide recruitment zone, and I was able and fortunate enough to meet back then present Port players like the Wakelin boys, people who have played for them, Burgoynes, all in that area, and obviously played footy in Port Lincoln. I had a pretty famous coach as well. So yeah, that's why the love of Port Adelaide over there grew on me, and so you just gotta hate Adelaide so much that the only alternative was go Port, go out.
Okay. Next question is, who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Yeah, had a chat to a few people about this one. I'm going to go Hamish Hartlett because I am so happy that he is healthy and well when he's played his game, and if he plays well, he's going to make an impact. And yeah, because like Hartlett and Gray, get those two going together, and yeah, chuck them in with Dersmer and Rosie now, and it's just like, oh, slaughterhouse.
And Butters.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Brett Chalmers.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was my coach, and he's a good man, he's a champion, and yeah, they're just good family, and I'll always respect Brett. Taught me a lot about the game and what it was to, you know, not be that great player coming from a what we call a soccer background here, to playing footy, and yeah, really enjoyed it. So he got me at left half back, and yeah, I was punching away. Hey.
Hey, what is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
Prison bar Guernsey should be worn all the time.
Okay. Well, the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you ever attended or watched?
The best one is a sad one. It was the game between Adelaide and Port with Walshy. And Walshy being a past coach of Port, got to always remember that. That's why Port were good as well. That was the game, and it was pretty moving, and yeah, it was awesome seeing I think it was the only time Adelaide and Port will possibly ever get along. So yeah, that one.
Thank you.
No worries, man. Cheers.
Okay. Isaac, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
I backed for Port Adelaide because my Oma at a young age sort of forced me into the Port spirit. She used to buy me Guernseys, and we used to collect footy cards together, and always looked up to all the Port players. And also Ulet and I were talking, and we think that the Indigenous culture at Port Adelaide is amazing, and all the pathways that they support for the Indigenous players is just like, it's just amazing. So yeah, that's why.
Cool. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
I think I'd have to say Zach Butters. Just the excitement he brings to the team, and just a bit of enthusiasm. Definitely a lot different to lots of the other blokes that go about it very professionally. He just brings a bit of excitement, and whenever he's got the ball in his hands, everyone gets a bit up and about, I reckon. So,
Okay.
Butters.
Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Would have to be Warren Treadray. I think, big centre half forward. Back in the day, watching it with Omar, would go to ARE Stadium and just watch him kick bags. Warren Treadray.
Okay.
What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I think the prison bar Guernsey should be worn without any.
Eddie Maguire.
Yeah.
Interrupting.
And I think it's like a very sacred Guernsey to the Port Adelaide Football Club, and I think it should be worn all the time or whenever Port want it to be worn.
Okay. Final question. What's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
I think I forgot what year it was. It was a elimination final or final against Richmond.
2004.
Yeah. And I think that was the best game of football. I remember they just blew them out of the blocks.
So you watched it or attended?
I attended.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was there with my Oma, and we attended it, and to watch them blow them out of the block straight away was just a great game of football. So yeah,
Thanks, Isaac.
Cheers, Jack. Thank you.
Okay, so Jack, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
My dad barracks for the South Australians, so that's why.
Yeah, those are the Crows.
Yeah.
Hey, who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Probably only once, because leadership and I feel like I like him like that.
Okay.
Keeps it going every week, so.
Oh, cool. Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Probably Trump's break, even though he's not kind of favourite player, but he's just been around for so long, so it's
Okay. Cool. What's your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
well, I personally like it because I'm not sure about the industry, but I think
We should be able to wear it.
yeah, we should be able to wear it each week, I think.
The final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you ever attended or watched?
2014 elimination final against Richmond.
Thanks, Jack. So, Josiah, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Because it's a team in my state and it's the best club in the country.
Okay, cool. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Favourite player? Probably either Connor Rosie or Robbie Gray.
Oh, nice. Okay, who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Probably, sound a bit sus, but Chad Wingard.
Okay.
He's always my favourite.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I love it. It's a bit of heritage for the club and I think they should wear it a lot more often than they do.
Okay. The last question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
The best with a winning outcome was probably the showdown where Stevie Motlop kicked the goal to win the game. I was there, the atmosphere was nuts.
Yeah,
Another
same.
good game was probably the elimination final against West Coast where it went to overtime and we lost on a goal by the siren and it was my birthday as well. So yeah, it was pretty crap. Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Mr. Millers, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
I started barracking for Port Adelaide as a young kid, so when I was about 6. I think I made some decision about my grandfather being a war figure. It's a bit vague now.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
I'd say Charlie Dixon. But yeah, I like watching some players play, and I think some players do really well. Yeah.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
I would say Gavin Wanganeen. That's fairly probably easy choice. It might be a very common choice too.
Yeah. Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I really like it. I understand the Collingwood issue, but yeah, I do like it. Some people from Port Adelaide don't like the prison bar terminology. They prefer to talk about it being the pylons of the jetties. But yeah, I like it.
Okay, cool. What's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
In about 1977, I think, I went to a Sturt Court Grand Final, and I remember them closing the gates at Footy Park because too many people turned up to come in. I had a friend who I met him there and he said, oh, I jumped over the fence. So there were about 60,000 people there that day.
What oval was that?
That was at Footy Park.
Oh, okay. Amy Stadium.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Knowles.
No worries.
Pop, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
I was barracked for Port Adelaide as long as I can remember, way back to about 1946, I think, when with a school excursion we visited Port Adelaide, and for some reason I just got really connected then, and I've barracked for them ever since.
Okay, nice. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Oh, I think both is his favourite player because he gets so many kicks in a game and he does it to advantage for his team too. He's always in there battling away, and he's been an inspiration for Port Adelaide.
Yeah, he has. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Oh, Foss Williams, because I was lucky enough to see him in the 40s, and it was really marvellous to watch him move. He was very fast, and I've seen him running through a pack of people, bouncing as he was going, just outpacing everybody.
Yeah, okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar, Guernsey?
Well, they've had it for so long now that I don't see anybody should be trying to stop them from using it.
Final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Well, I attended one, more than one, but I can remember one in about 1946 when, well, I don't even know what team they were playing, but they were a good team that year anyway.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Grandma, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Because my husband does.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Charlie Dixon.
Why?
Because I think he's very sexy.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Gavin Wanganeen.
Why?
Because he's an Aboriginal that's done really, really well, and he's a really nice fella.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar, Guernsey?
I think it's really nice. They've always had it, and they should be able to wear it.
Okay. Final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Oh, probably when they won the grand final a few years ago.
Okay. Thank you, Grandma. Joe, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
I barrack for Port Adelaide because my dad goes to Port Adelaide and they're the best team in South Australia.
Yes, they are. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Probably Charlie Dixon and Connor Rodian, because Charlie Dixon's a good target at full forward, even though he's having a pretty good season, and Connor Rodian, because it's second year at the club, is probably the best rising star at Port Adelaide.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Probably Gavin Wanganeen, because he was in the 2004 grand final and won a Brownlow.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar, Guernsey?
I think they should be allowed to wear it because the club was established before Collingwood, and I think around the same time, but yeah, it was prison bar the first, so.
Very traditional. Okay. What's the best Port Adelaide game you ever attended or watched?
The one where Stephen Motlop kicked the goal against the Crows, and Robbie Gray, the hat-trick rider down to Robbie Gray, both at those games, so.
Okay. Thank you. Dad, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Well, the reason I barracked for Port was when I was young, we rescued a magpie, and then I ended up just barracking for the Port Adelaide Magpies.
Oh, nice. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
My favourite player on the list would be Travis Boak.
Why is that?
Boakey because he could have easily left and went to Geelong when Port were doing really bad, but he stuck with us, and he's just been a great player.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
That'd be Gavin Wanganeen, and the reason is I just love the way you play.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar, Guernsey?
I love it. Should have it.
Just fuck over you,
Yeah. Okay, that too.
Yeah. Last question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
I believe it would be Port Adelaide 2019 when we played St Kilda.
2017.
Was that 17?
2017. I wasn't at that game, but it was a right a tap down to
Yeah.
Gary.
That was 17.
Yeah, that was 2017.
Okay, better. Do you have to rewind that and do that?
No, that's cool.
Okay. Crikey, well 2017 when Robbie Gray kicked that winning goal with about 5 seconds left. Okay.
Thanks, Dad.
No worries, blokes. Cheers, mate. Okay.
Miss White, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
I barrack for Port because when I was younger, the family was split. So my mum and my brother went for the Crows, my dad went for Port, and I'm a real daddy's girl, so I just kind of jumped on his bandwagon and loved him ever since.
Good. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
At the moment, it is Charlie Dixon. He's an absolute machine.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
I've got two, so Boki is one of my favourites. I just love him. He's just leads from the front, always hardworking, and I also had a bit of a soft spot for Chad Wingard as well, so I'm still a little bit heartbroken that he's left.
Yeah. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I kind of see both sides of the debate. I can certainly see where Collingwood are coming from. I believe that perhaps they should be able to wear it in showdowns. I think that's something that to keep that tradition, but I don't think it's something that should be worn at all games because Collingwood technically are prison bars in the AFL.
Okay, and the last question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Look, I've been to a few. I went to a couple of finals in the day, but one that sticks out to mind was a showdown. I was sitting with my brother in the Crows members section. We were losing most of the game. We come through and won at the end. So to sit around all the Crows members and get that win, that was a pretty special day.
Alright, thanks, Liz.
No worries, mate.
Mr. Burns, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Well, I guess my father was a fan of Port Adelaide before the power in the AFL. He had some family that grew up not near Alden, but sort of north of the city. So I guess for me, barracking for Port Adelaide, yeah, I didn't really have a choice really. I was growing up with Port Adelaide, and yeah, I have his views for the team pretty much in me. So.
Good. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
At the moment, it will be Darcy Burnt-Jones.
Haircut?
I do like his haircut, maybe not this year with the perm at the back, but I don't mind his kind of like longish sort of hair. But no, I really like him, just the way that he kind of attacks his footy and the way he goes about it. I don't know if you remember his first game, but he kicked a goal with like blood running down his face after colliding with another Port Adelaide player. So yeah, just the way that he goes about it, I really like. Quite similar to Pal Pepper and like Charlie Dixon, but they're sort of the poster boys. But I quite like Darcy Burnt-Jones.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
All-time would be probably Gavin Wanganeen. I know that he won a Brownlow at Essendon before he came to Port Adelaide, but he was my first ever favourite player back in the day when I kind of knew what AFL was and I could work out who was who. This was back when I was playing footy cards when I was in middle school, high school. So yeah, just the way that he kind of advocates for Indigenous people and their beliefs, and also the way that he goes about his footy. So yeah, like Gavin Wanganeen.
What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I really love the prison bar Guernsey. I know that it wasn't the first sort of design that Port Adelaide had as a Guernsey. I know that they had like magenta and kind of blue Guernseys before, so I know it's not the first Guernsey that we ever had, but I think the success that Port Adelaide has lived through in that Guernsey, and I guess what that means for the fans that have kind of grown up in that era, knowing the Magpies and knowing the prison bars. Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I like what it stands for. I like the nickname that was given to us. I know it's like the Wharf Pylons, but I know it was kind of like the nickname given to us prison bars, and I like that we've kind of run with that nickname and kind of stuck with it. Yeah.
Okay, the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
So the best game that I attended was the 2004 preliminary final. So that was the game to get into the grand final.
That was against St Kilda.
Against St Kilda. Fraser Gehrig kicked the first goal of the game, and it was his 100th goal. So you had pretty much half the crowd right onto the field
disrupt the game for about 15-20 minutes. I remember it was Robert Harvey's 300th game as well in that game. And what else do I remember about the game? I remember it was pretty much goal for goal. I'm aware that I think St Kilda were in the lead going into the last quarter. But there was two pretty good goals, one from Stuart Jude and then one from the boundary from jackloganyt. Both kicking towards me and my dad, who was sitting behind the goals. And I remember as soon as the final siren went and everyone ran onto the ground, I remember losing my dad. I was only 9 years old at the time, so I was pretty young. A little bit worried that I wouldn't ever find him again, but managed to kind of find a security guard and then ended up finding my dad, who was holding up his handmade port flag amongst all the people. So that was pretty chaotic, but yeah, probably the best game I've been to at any stadium.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Burns.
No worries. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Mr. Neville, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Port Adelaide's a team I've always bagged for. I guess my parents and my family, or my immediate family, all bagged for Port Adelaide. And growing up, I guess I had to make a decision. My parents forced me into a decision, but I selected Port Adelaide just because I liked the way they played footy, and I wasn't a fan of the Crows. And I guess they were the two teams that I thought were my only options as we lived in South Australia.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
My favourite player at the moment would have to be Travis Boak. He's super consistent and hard working, and he does a lot for the community outside of football as well. But I also like Zach Butters. I think he's going to be a great player in the future, and already is a bit of a star.
Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
My favourite all-time player would have to be Byron Pickett. He was an Indigenous player that was super hard at the footy, super tough. He used to dish out a few big bumps, but he used to also take on the game and take plenty of running bounces. It was always exciting to watch, so he's my all-time favourite.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I like Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey. I think it will be hopefully used in the future a fair bit more, and that displays all of their history, because obviously they're a very historical club with a sand full of doors, the AFL.
And the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Best AFL game that I've watched that Port have played is probably the 2004 AFL Premiership where they beat Brisbane. It's a super exciting game, especially because Brisbane have been so dominant for so many years. And the best game I've been to is the elimination final where Port played Richmond in 2014, I think it was.
Yes, it was.
They absolutely smoked Richmond. And yeah, it was a good game.
Thanks, Nev.
Thank you.
Mr. V, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Oh, as a kid, all my family went for Crows, and I just thought it would have been. I don't know, I just like the colourway that they had, and I thought it was funnier that I would go for someone that they didn't go for. And so, as a kid, I just stuck with it, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm into it. Port's my team.
Cool. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Current player would have to be Hamish Hartlett, purely because we share the same birthday, and he's a dead lookalike for my brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Stewie Dew, I loved him. He was awesome. I loved watching him play. 2004 was like around where my favourite time was, and he was so awesome back then. I just loved that season, and he was such a great player.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I love the prison bar Guernsey. I think it's amazing. I think they should definitely wear it. Like, I know there's a lot of controversy around it, but I think it's an amazing look, and I definitely think that if we can use it, we should definitely keep using it.
Yeah, I think we should use it more often.
Yeah, exactly.
Security Maguire.
Yeah.
Okay, and the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Have attended. So I'll go with watched, because in the 2004 grand final, my family made a really big deal for me as a kid. So what we did was we grabbed a projector that we had, we put it up in the living room wall. My mum made me jelly slice, which is normally like just jelly, condensed milk, and then cookies on the bottom. And she made it with blue, white, and Oreos. And so it was like the Port Adelaide colours, and we had the whole family around, and it was such an awesome win.
Who were they going for? Were they going for Port or Brisbane?
Oh, they were going for Port. They were into it. They were like, yeah, we'll get around him. Like, they're from Adelaide. You know, it's an SA team. We should get behind it as well. So yeah, no, that was probably my favourite Port game I've ever watched. Even attended. That was by far.
Any game you've attended that you like?
I've attended a couple, but I was really young when I attended them. Like, I wasn't too much of a my parents wouldn't take me too often, but I actually had a couple of friends that had season tickets, and whenever they didn't use them, I would sort of say, hey, do you mind if I use them? But nah, it's good fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank you very
for
much.
staying.
Cheers up. Well done. Thanks.
Yes, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Jack, it is a family tradition. My mum grew up going for Port Adelaide, and when I was born she started to take me to games and just became part of our family tradition.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Well, I just named my dog Butters, so Zach Butters is my favourite player at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like him.
Okay, who is your favourite all-time player of Port Adelaide?
That is a hard question. I would probably say I really liked Gavin Wanganeen. I think he was just a really special player, and he won as a flag, so yeah, I think probably Gavin.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
Oh mate, listen, this is something which should actually have happened a long time ago. We should have had the right to wear this. This has been our Guernsey for 150 years. And it's just crazy that we can't wear it in the AFL. I think it's a no-brainer. If you look at any of the big soccer leagues around the world, you know, they've got multiple teams in the same competition with the same colours or the same name, you know. So I think it's just, it's a bit of a joke that we can't wear it, and I'm hoping that they change that rule.
Yeah, okay, the final question is,
Okay.
what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
That's an easy answer. Because I was very fortunate to go to our premiership in 2004 at the MCG, where we beat Brisbane by about 40 points. I was about 13 years old, so a bit younger than you.
Who did you go with?
I went with a mate of mine called Steve. He was actually dating my mum when they were Port fans, so that's how my mum became a Port fan, because she was dating this guy called Steve. And Steve lived in Alberton, so he used to take mum to all the Port Maggie's games.
Oh yeah.
And then Steve, he just kind of, even though my mum and him broke up, they remained friends, so he became a family friend. So Steve took me, we drove across the MCG, and we beat Brisbane, and it was the best thing in the world.
Alright, thanks Mr. Smith.
Absolutely a pleasure, Jack. Go there!
Mr. Stoomer, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Well, funny story is when I first got to Australia, when I first got picked up, basically my friend who picked me up, his friend was a Port Adelaide fan. And he's like, you root for Port Adelaide now, or barrack for Port Adelaide. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know anything about it. And then he just started, you know, we watched it every weekend. And then he took me to a couple of games, and I got to see them go. It was 2007, so it was when that year they basically made it all the way to the grand final. So it was just kind of got hooked from there, and I've been into it ever since.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
That's gonna be Westhoff, always. Because he basically came in, like his rookie year was when I first started watching Port. So I've been following him ever since, so he's always, as long as he's on the field, he's my favourite player.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player of Port Adelaide?
Tread Ray. Like, definitely. Captain, he was good, just liked him ever since I saw him. Always liked the way he led the team. I always liked the way the team played when he was captain. So he's probably my favourite. He will always be.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I think it looks a little too much like Collingwood's, and I like the design they did now. I really like the way they changed the jersey, and I think it looks way better now than it did before.
You think Port should like wear the Guernsey a bit more like a showdown or whatever? You said that should be okay with Guernsey.
I think just bring it back for a couple of important games. Like I think it would be really cool to wear for rivalry games, like with the Crows and stuff like that. Just bring out the old school kind of Magpie jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
The final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
I'm gonna go with the one I attended because it was one of the first times I ever got to go, and that was in 2007. It was the prelim final against West Coast. And it was the first time I've ever seen West Coast, obviously live. It's the first time I've ever been Amy to see like the whole thing happen, and so it was just amazing, the atmosphere, and like actually the ball getting kicked in. I didn't realize when that like the ball got kicked into the stands, you actually threw it back and kept playing with it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like as in American sports, the ball goes in the stands, it's gone. So it's just like a cool little fun atmosphere, and it's really cool, and otherwise so close too, because like in American sports, like what I paid and like the fact that it was a final, like I would have been like all the way in the bleachers, like all the way up top. But like we were like nice, low, like behind the goalpost. It was amazing. So it was just like, and they won like basically last minute of the game. So it was just amazing.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
I barracked for Port Adelaide because reason was my son Brody was loved Port Adelaide, and I wanted to spend some more time with him. So I thought I'll go for Port Adelaide. I've got a few mates who went for Port Adelaide, and I'm glad I did, and I love the team.
Right. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
My favourite player at the moment on the list is Butters. Zach Butters is his name, and I like him because he's gutsy, and he is not afraid to tackle the ball. He's quick, and he's got lots of potential.
Okay. Who is your favourite all-time player on Port Adelaide?
Oh, my favourite all-time player. Oh, gee, that's a bit of a hard one. I did enjoy probably a couple, I suppose. Justin Westhoff, I do like him. Little Jakey Need, I like Jakey Need when he was playing. And Schultz, I love watching Schultz play.
Schultz was good.
He was very good. Good goal kicker. Yep.
Very accurate.
Yep.
Hey, what is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
I love the prison bars. I think it's great. I love it. I think that we should wear it more often. Bugger Collingwood. We should. This is what I would love to watch. I'm going to get one of these things.
Harry's going to get you a fastest trailer here.
Yeah, good on you, Harry. Love to have that.
Yes, and the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Well, the best Port Adelaide game that I've actually attended was back in 2018. It was the middle of the year, so it must have been about around, could have been 12 or 13, when we had a home game against St Kilda. And about 5 minutes to go, I reckon we would have been about 2 or 3 goals down, and we kicked 3 goals. And the last goal, when Paddy Ryder from the boundary tapped it to Robbie Gray, and Robbie Gray kicked the goal, the winning goal.
That was 2017.
Yeah, 2017, and it was fantastic. The crowd erupted. You could hear the roar all the way from Rundle Mall.
Hey, thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Jack. Pleasure, mate.
Chad, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Because it was in my family. My grandparents did, my father did, and so do I.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Tom Jones, captain.
Is there a reason?
Because nothing gets past him.
Okay.
He's a tough player.
Yeah. Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
Russell Weaver.
Any reasoning behind that?
No, just that's who, when I was a boy, he was the captain and the best player. So ended up being Russell Weaver.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
Oh, I think they should be allowed to wear it. It's our traditional Guernsey, and they should be allowed to wear it.
Okay.
They could have a clash one against Collingwood. It doesn't matter when we don't play them.
And the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Attended would be the prelim final in 2004 when we played St Kilda. When Fraser Gary kicked 100 goals, I was down there and they stormed the field and stopped the game and give us momentum, and we ended up winning that game. And then the best game I watched on TV would be the following week, the grand final, 2004.
Thanks, Chad.
No worries.
Andy, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
Barrack for Port Adelaide ever since I can remember. They were the ones that I enjoyed watching, the style of play when I grew up watching early 80s, so that's probably why I like it.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
I do like Charlie Dixon, also like Scotty Lawson.
Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
I like watching the full forwards and the ruckmen, so Tim Evans as I was growing up, and Brett Chalmers a little bit later on, so yeah.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
Well, it's very iconic. You know who you're playing, and it means something when you have that prison bar jumper on, so yeah, it puts a bit of fear into other teams too, I think.
And the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you have attended or watched?
Obviously the 04 premiership was good, but there was a couple of prelim finals previous years to that. One against St Kilda at Footy Park, which was a very tight game as well, and usually anything against Brisbane. 02-03 seasons was pretty good as well.
Thank you, Andy.
No worries.
Stephen, why do you barrack for Port Adelaide?
I've just barracked for them all my life, Jack. Ever since I can remember, so I guess the reason I mainly barracked for them is because my grandparents were Magpie supporters, and yeah, so I kind of took it on from them.
Okay. Who is your favourite player at the moment on the list?
Favourite player at the moment on the list? They all are, but I guess I've got a soft spot for Robbie Gray and Justin Westhoff for Hoff.
Who is your favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide?
It'd have to be Russell Lever, I think. Russell Lever. There's a few though. There's Gavin Wanganeen, as I just got reminded. I've sort of forgot about him, but there's Greg Phillips, Mark Williams, there's lots of them.
Okay. What is your opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey?
That's their heritage, and that's what we should be wearing, but mind you, I don't mind the Guernsey we have now. But I think at least for showdowns, I think we should be able to wear the prison bar, because that's our heritage, and yeah, I think I love the Guernsey. It's a great looking Guernsey, as we can see on you, mate. Yeah.
Worn them in all my interviews.
Yeah.
And the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game you ever attended or watched?
Oh, probably the Richmond final back in 2000 and was that 14?
Yeah.
We went to that game, and that first quarter was just unbelievable. That was probably one of my favourites, but there's been many. But the last Richmond game we played this year was a good one to be at too. So.
Okay, thanks, Stephen.
No worries, mate.
Why do I barrack for Port Adelaide? Well, I've been going for Port Adelaide since I was born, which was in 2003, and it's because Dad's brought us up as Port Adelaide boys. So, you got the beautiful prison bar Guernsey here. The next question is, who is my favourite player on the list at the moment? Well, my favourite two players on the list at the moment would have to be Zach Butters, because he just attacks the footy head over, just crashes packs, does all that kind of jizz and stuff like that. My second favourite player would have to be Charlie Dixon's, because his presence, his big hands, his big contested marks. That's why. My next question is, who is my favourite all-time player at Port Adelaide? That would have to be Travis Boak, because he could have left to Geelong a while ago when Port were doing really shit, but he didn't. And also he just was a really good captain for us, but he's not captain anymore. My next question is, what is my opinion on Port Adelaide's prison bar Guernsey? Well, I think Port Adelaide should wear it more often. Screw what Collingwood and screw what Eddie McGuire says. It's Port Adelaide's tradition. So I think Port Adelaide should be able to wear it, except when we play Collingwood, so we can just wear like our normal home Guernsey or something like that when we play them. And the final question is, what's the best Port Adelaide game I have attended or watched? The attended game would have to be the Stephen Motlop goal against Adelaide Crows in 2018, where Motlop kicked the winning goal with about 20 seconds remaining. And the best game I've watched was probably the 2014 elimination final against Richmond, where we just came out and smashed them from the opening bounce. So, thanks guys.
Throws it up long, Jet comes, goal clear, Trent Ray! And it's appropriate that he will probably have the final say. One way or the other, you reckon? It rests on his boot. Champion he is, just 19 years of age. In this state. He couldn't quite. Out wide, Mays. Back in AFL footy. The kick was good. The mark was better. And it's Robbie Gray. Everyone else but Robbie Gray is now a spectator. The siren will sound. The game is on his boot. He is the man in the arena. And all eyes are on Robbie Gray. And when everyone else missed, when the moment came, he seized it like no one else. Robbie Great.
We are Port Adelaide. Always have been. Always will be.
Decorate your block with red tape, phone them sliding every day. Bunch of hollows spitting out the Glock. I've been serving fiends all day, out there posted with the gang, nigga. We was taught to get it off the block. It's 100 bands in the safe, now I got expensive taste. Michael Mary jeans, fill them up with knots. I've been on my grind every day, don't believe in taking breaks. I ain't stopping till we chillin' at the top. Swerving on the E-way, don't care if I crash in this coupe. Shit I'm thinking about too real, might lose my mind in this coupe. Can't relapse off these drugs, man, RP the juice.